Hey there, everybody. It's me, Chris Herman, here for another episode of On Deck. Today, my guest is the one and only Mr. Paul Martini. All of you who are Zimmerman alum and graduates will certainly remember Paul as I do. We all worked together way long time ago. Paul's a really cool and interesting and creative guy. He's a musician. He's had his own ad agency. He's worked in the production side of the business. And most notably and most recently, he is now the author of children's books. And the big hit from him is Marla and the Magic Ink Bottle. Did I get that right? Oh, yeah. So we cover a lot of territory from music to creativity. And so without further ado, here we go. It is Mr. Paul Martini.
We're on.
That's the official start, Paul.
All right.
Welcome, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Paul Martini, you are on deck, bud.
Blown away.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
We were, okay, so we've already been talking for like an hour, which, we've probably covered some good stuff. So we'll come back to it. But we were talking, before we got on, you're talking about how you had, just kind of gotten yourself into flying drones, and the hijinks that happens when you try to teach yourself something on the fly.
Well, the original drones were a little bit more, they're a little more temperamental. They hadn't really got the whole thing down in the chip yet, whatever it is in there. So they didn't know whether, you were ordering from McDonald's, some guy could be ordering, and the next thing you know, you're flying, it's wobbly, it's, Yeah, but it gave me a heart attack, it was the first time out, you go in there, you're thinking like, you're Captain Caruso. Yes, I'm here with a drone, and I think it's going to be great. I got it all under control. Next thing you know, the guy's running, you sure you got this? No, I don't. I swear to God.
Dude, the first time we ever went and shot at a dealership with our own camera equipment, It was 9-10 years ago. Tom, God bless you. It was a guy who used to work here and I'd bought a couple cameras, and one of our clients, agreed to pay us whatever our day rate we just pulled out. It's this much money per day. Mm-hmm. And so we packed up. We brought a green screen, like the first light kit I ever had, the first camera I ever had. Paul, literally on the flight up, we're watching YouTube videos like how to use a camera.
Exactly.
Like watching videos. We set up at the dealership. We were still sneaking out to this like one area like, what do you do in this situation? Right? Literally. And I remember at the end of the day thinking, for fuck's sake, it's not fair. Like there's men and women who have like invested thousands of dollars to go to film school and learn how to do this, and here you got a couple of retards like you probably can't say that word anymore. There we go. Anyway, you got a couple of dummies like us, up there, and we're literally like winging it. And I will tell you what, the footage turned out great.
Yeah.
And we used that footage in
100%.
4 years worth of commercials.
100%. I did the same thing. I had I didn't. My advertising agency was very small. It consisted of me, a golden retriever, and occasionally my brother to run the jib crane or whatever. Long hair, hippie, Grateful Dead guy, and I love him to death. But we get up there, someplace in the mid-Florida, the climate changes because, you go from, hey, what's going on to, hey, what's happening? You go ahead and get your stuff out the car. We got to. So next thing you know, I'm like, dude, my brother, his hair is down to his waist. He's got this Grateful Dead shirt on, and he's running the jib or whatever, and it's just like, he never had any experience. He doesn't know what he's doing or whatever, but neither did I. It's all in the presentation. It's all how the people perceive you.
That's right.
I was just telling you, if you walk in and you're Steven Spielberg, people are going to think that's who you are. Oh, yeah, this guy's got it. Look at the way he runs the cord, If you walk in there and you don't, you're walking all over the place, spilling your coffee. Sorry, I got to clean this off the screen. I don't know. Then people are automatically going to think, well, who the fuck did we hire here?
Yep.
It's like the Three Stooges came in here,
So funny.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right, let's do an official introduction here. So,
okay.
Paul Martini, you and I have known each other probably almost 25 years. It's this summer 25 years ago
Yeah.
that I started at Zimmerman, and I know you were there right
Yes.
around the same time, as was Brad. So you have a history in working in advertising. You were at the time working in more like audio production at the studio at Power Tracks. Subsequently, over that time, you've had your own agency. You've written a children's book, which I know we really want to get to there. And you've also fronted, and this is amongst many things, but you've also been fronting a U2 band here in South Florida for many years. So a man of many creative skills and a very personable and outgoing guy. So I'm looking forward to spending more time with you because we've already shot the shit for at least an hour now. Probably could have kept going for 3 or 4 hours.
I knew this was going to be fun.
So let's I always like to back up a little bit, and when you were growing up, you grew up here in South Florida, right?
Okay, so Broward General.
All right. What was it for you as a child that really got you into the creative space? Like what brought you in?
I think I was born a Pisces, I mean, that's, I was born into this. I mean, when I was young, I started out young. They got me into, all I wanted to do was be in acting and everything. So I was in Parker Playhouse and Oliver. I had the starring role. I did a bunch of production in, Parker Playhouse. And it was just that whole thing, that whole love to see the scenery being built, the whole 9 yards, being a part of that.
Right.
That's what really got me. And then drawing comic books, doing the whole thing, just creating, I would draw all these comic books out, make printouts of them, and then give them to my friends. Oh, what do you think of this one? Oh man, I deliver them at lunchtime, So just constantly being creative as a little kid, and then, I guess it's the era, that the time you grew up in was also really, I don't know. I mean, everything just seems so much more colorful, and just what we had to like visual, even like the cartoons and the stuff that we watched at a younger age, Bugs Bunny and all this stuff, the Three Stars, Little Rascals, all these things that we got to experience that at some point, some of it has just been either banned, or we're not allowed to watch this anymore. We're not allowed to see this anymore. But these are the things that, I don't know, that have inspired, that bring you up to be, I don't know, maybe me, not everybody else, but just that creative force. It
was vivid, and I remember that time. Of course, we didn't have the same technology, right? I mean, we're of a similar generation here, very close,
right?
And so as kids growing up, the creativity and the imagination stuff was a lot more imaginative and creative, in my opinion, only because you didn't have as much stuff to work with. Like, you didn't have these crazy video games. You had Pong, then you had Donkey Kong.
Exactly.
Basics. A few channels of TV, Saturday morning cartoons. It was like Bugs Bunny.
Exactly.
And that's what we were raised on. And I don't know if kids today would look at that and say, oh man, that sucks, but it was great.
It was special. No,
Super
the thing is
stimulating.
is that it's like if you have a whole bunch of stuff, right? If you have,
do me a favor, Paul. Pull the mic just a little bit. Yeah, just move it around with you.
Okay,
like you're on stage, bro.
Okay, there you go. I like to hold it like this. If you have a whole bunch of special stuff, right? Everything's special, like it is today. I mean, everything is like, you can go onto your handheld and you can see something from over there. You can go onto an iPad and then you pick up. You're on the computer. You're doing everything is at you at all the same time. It's all
mind-blowingly amazing.
It's all mind-blowing amazing. For us, it was, hey man, don't forget, when you leave school tonight, 8 o'clock, there's a special coming on. It's Charlie Brown. We got this. So everybody was like gathered around. There's going to be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is coming on. It was like this special moment in time that we as a generation, we gathered around because it was special. Saturday morning's the same thing. You had that special time. It was a 2-hour, 3-hour thing, and then it went into other things or whatever.
Yeah.
But you laid around and you ate your breakfast. It was Saturday morning. Then after that was over, you were out and about.
Yes.
You were off to an adventure. You were doing what you do. All that stuff has to do with, I believe, 100% is the key to bringing in creativity. You're a creative guy too. You have a creative sense about you. You do what you do. I mean, you built this little empire here, your empire, the stage, everything. It's because you're a creative person. And I believe 100% that that's just not something that, I think that's it's like a witch's kettle. You throw things in there and it's brewed up over time, and all the things that are around you that mystically inspire you, that you keep. You don't let go. They're in your brain. Somewhere along the lines, there's something you did when you were 7 years old. You might have been by the canal and saw a bass and the thing jumped out of the water, and then you picked it up, and it was just something that comes into your head that inspired you, and you keep all these things until you're old enough. And then, like for me as a writer, these are the things that come back. It's like so easy, not to go there yet, but it's just so easy to bring these things that I experience and that were part of me. And I think that's what it is. So to answer your question in a long way, being creative is all I know. It's all I know. And that's why, I've never been really good at, in my life, I've never been good at being corporate. Even in school, it was just I don't know if it was just because I was always thinking about, okay, what am I going to create next when I get home, or what am I going to do? My mind was always spinning. What am I going to write? What am I going to create? I'm going to make a stop action movie when I get home. Out of the Star Wars characters, or thinking about what I'm going to do. Not even in school, not being there totally like 100%. Yeah, this math thing. Like when it came to math, it scared the shit out of me. I didn't know what It's like, that because your mind, or like some minds think on that creative level, and some minds think on that mathematical level. You know what I'm saying? So some minds are just mathematical, and they couldn't come up with an ad. You can't walk over there and say to a client, listen, I see this whole thing. I actually see the jingle. You're gonna love it at Myers, or whatever it is. I hear it. I see it on your wall. I see everything. So you can walk into a place and automatically think, we're gonna have this. We're gonna fly the drones. We're gonna do this, and I think we should have this. And that's all the creative force. That's because you walk into a place, and I believe that's, out of everything that you can, this is just the way I think, and I'm probably totally way off on this. But on advertising, I think when everybody's sitting around that big table and they're on the pitch and everything like that, I think the most entertaining part about it is the creativity. It's what you're bringing to the table. Then you start to talk about the numbers and what's going to do on cable and all the other stuff and everything. But the party part of it is because as a human being, we naturally want to be entertained. Mm-hmm. We have a desire to be entertained. You're stuck in a car dealership. You want to go in there and you're coming in because this company's coming in with a pitch. You want to see what you expect that there's an entertainment value here. You're going to see what they're bringing to the table. It's going to be fun. And then you get to the numbers and everybody sits back, and okay, let's talk about this. And then the screen comes down and the pointy things that you bring and all the other shit that goes along with it.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, we were talking earlier, that we of our generation who got into advertising, and many of us who started at Zimmerman back in the day, got into the business, as with everybody that I've worked with here just about forever. We all got into the business because we wanted to be able to utilize our creative ability in a more professional setting, exactly. Right? And so you get into it for that, and then certainly over the last 10, 15 years, the nature of advertising has really morphed from advertising to marketing, right? Like people call it it's more marketing now than advertising, which it's still the same thing in my opinion. Ultimately, you're trying to get your message to somebody so that you can sell them a product. But it has become more about the methodology of how you deliver the message. Then it's become more about that than the actual message itself. And the one thing that I'm always optimistic about, and continually, even in the automotive space, which is tough right now, is you still have a lot of people saying, now that all the channels are laid in place, it's like, what are you saying and what are you going to do? And you're right. That's where the fun is. And it makes me think of something I said to myself a few years ago, and I was like, I'm just going to start doing a lot more of the things that I really enjoyed when I was a kid. Riding my bike, playing my guitar.
There you go.
Going outside to play, whatever that is. Like, you knew when you were 5 what you liked to do and what you loved. And then we go through this whole adult life trying to maintain it, but you got to work, you got to make my right. A lot of people get away from it. And it's not to say that everybody can make a living out of, whatever it is that they want to do when they're 5. Right. But like if you're in the position to be able to kind of incorporate that stuff back, then fucking A, do it, Exactly. And then if you can manage to do that, to live like you're 5, make a living with that same, magic, is what you say. You bring it with you. Here you are. I mean, I know that I'm, not to give my age or anything, but I'm in my 50s now, and it is what it is, But I don't feel it. I certainly don't feel it. Like I said, I mean, I'm getting up on stage and running around, and I'm doing this singing and going out and doing all the things that I did back when I was 16, 17 years old, my first gig down here, I was 17, playing at the reunion room and, doing all these things and still doing what we do. But bringing, like I think I told you this earlier, it's you bring everything with you and it becomes full circle. Like you said you're 5 and you're enjoying what you want to do, and you're happy about doing that, the playing the guitar, all the stuff that you're doing. Now look, I'm sitting on the other side of the table here, and you're doing something that you absolutely love right now. This isn't an interview. This is a session. We're having fun. Totally.
This is totally cool. And the cool part about it is that you control this thing. I'm answering the questions. I'm Italian, so I tend to talk a lot. It is what it is. What are you gonna... But the truth of the matter is that, like I was telling you earlier, this is something that I see, and after seeing a few of your shows and everything, I mean, you can tell that this is a passion for you, and you're good at it.
Thanks, man.
And you're good at it, and I see it getting even bigger for you. I mean, I see this being a really big deal. So, everybody has, you never know, the thing is like also being a Pisces, not just creative, but very spiritual life that, a little deeper thoughts on things or whatever. But
right.
It's like I always believe that you're born onto this world and is a river, right? It's a river and it's got different ways and everything. And you think you're on this path, man. You think you're riding a leaf on the river. You think you're on this path, but this thing takes you to a different direction. All of a sudden, somewhere in your life, you realize what you're doing and what you're not doing it's like what you want to do, and you naturally go down that path if it's something that you want to do. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you don't know why it's pulling you. You don't know why you're doing it, but all of a sudden you find yourself doing it and it's working and you feel better about it. You find yourself, you didn't go out and look for it. I'm pretty sure, like maybe it was in your head, but I'm pretty sure 10 years ago, you were sitting there and you when working, doing your magic with your clients and doing this before the pandemic and before all that, you had a pretty cool idea of what you were doing with your life and how it was going to,
Totally.
You knew you were set on this path, right? Now, the pandemic came and this and that and everything, and it gave you time to think about your life and how you want it to be and what's going to bring you amazing happiness and everything like that. And it's not just, it's choices, of course, but it's also, I believe, the universe feels your vibe, dude, and knows where you want to be.
Yeah, you wonder. It's funny how the changes take place too. Like I think if you were to say, okay, 5 years ago, I had a very distinct, thought process about what I wanted the business to be, and what we were going to do, and all this stuff. And I met my wife coming up about a little over 6 years ago now, and now I look at how my perspective on what is important to me in my life has changed as a result of what I do independent of her, but also there are some things, quite frankly, of more spiritual in nature that she brought to the table.
Right.
That at first I was very resistant of, because I had sort of cast myself in this, like, I'm this, right? Mm-hmm. But the more, they say that which you resist persists, right?
Right.
And so the more I resisted some of that stuff, the more it just kept persisting, till finally I was like, wait a second. I'm missing an opportunity to learn something. And as I've let go and kind of gone more with that flow, more of this stuff has started to happen.
Isn't that crazy?
And so it's like, I joke, and I think everybody here probably, I know everybody here at some point in time or another repeatedly has been like, what the fuck is Chris doing? We're on a stage. Like, it makes no sense.
It's Chris is shedding his skin and showing you the real Chris. This is what Chris has been keeping inside of the whole time. This is what probably has been in your mind. It's been there somewhere. This doesn't just happen because
right.
It's been there.
But it's like, it's weird because I didn't have this end in mind necessarily. It's like each step along the way,
exactly,
a new idea or a new realization. Oh, this is what it can be for. Like, only within the last 2 months, quite frankly, as a result of facing challenging situations in business, I've been like, oh, wait a second. Like, this can be used.
Right.
This is not just about me having fun. Like, this can be used for the benefit of what we're doing for it, and it's going to be a lot more fun.
Those games, what do they call it? Panachico or Panachuco or whatever the hell.
Pachinko.
Pachinko, where you drop the thing, ding, 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 ding. You're heading towards landing here, but you're going to land over there, and you don't know why, and you don't know how, but if you're lucky where you land, you're happy, and you're doing exactly what you want to do. And there's so many ways to get there. There's so many different ways. You could start doing one thing. It's like I told you, we both, came from the Zimmerman, and when I left there, I went on to do something that I thought my heart was in, which was the cartoon industry. I was writing for cartoons. I was doing the voices. I was creating this educational cartoon series, right? And then it's weird, like the pandemic, 9/11 happened, and those planes changed, and those buildings and that terrible, horrible thing that happened changed the path that I was on, because just like in the pandemic, everybody suffered from that. The economy went down. The new businesses that were formed on the internet had now, something happened. They just all belly up. So now I went from doing that to, okay, so what have I gathered in my life? What can I do now? Where have I been? What's inside of me? Can I take the pieces that I know, the music, the writing, the piano, the voiceovers, the this, the that, the other, stick them together and come out with something concrete enough to begin something new? And that's exactly what I did. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I gotta be honest with you. I was so far behind, I thought I was in first place. That's the real deal. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I worked for Jordan and Zimmerman for a long time, doing audio, but I learned from that. I learned how it's written. After seeing script after script after script, you get an idea of what's going on. So you have a basic idea of how to write. And if you have writing talent, you can do it. And if you have the talent to write a jingle or, come up with a tune and sing it, well, shit, I got that going. Now, wait a minute. I did voiceovers. I was doing the Mitsubishi thing. I was doing this. I was doing all these car dealership shit. I can do the voiceover. So you take all these little scraps and you stick it together, and next thing you know, I started that ad agency, Martini and Partners. I got to tell you, doing it, I loved it because I was in charge of the whole thing, but it was the other side of it that I have no idea. It goes back to being when you were young, and being in school and being that whole thing, the corporate thing that I just said. I love the creative part. Get me on there. I'll write the spots. I'll do the jingles. I'll do this. So, we'll come in, we'll film. We got a little flamingo guy dancing around, whatever the fuck we want to do. But when it came to the business end of it, which is the important part of it, you have to have. That's when shit gets real. When the shit gets real, and you have to have that mentality to be able to go in and sit with these guys. They don't want to hear, about dancing flamingos. They want to know about fucking numbers, and that's what it really comes down to. And
you start with the dancing flamingos.
Yes.
That kind of gets you in the door, but then it turns into, all right, so now what is it? What is the dancing flamingos doing for us?
Exactly. So, when you're a creative type, you tend to be like, wait a minute, what? Can we go back to the dancing? This part's scaring me. I got another thing. We got penguins back there. They can come.
Not so comfortable right now.
This isn't my forte. And I'm dealing with this guy who's from, this really like, you ever see that Seinfeld episode where George and they go in there and he's like, what are you kids doing here? I'm waiting, this kind of guy.
Right.
Really, so what's with the fucking flamingo? What are you going to do? He's, you watch, he twirls, he does, he's got a pizza box in his hand. But eventually, eventually at the end of it, you come to the realization that there's certain parts and there's a reason. There's a fucking reason that you and people that own advertising agencies have other people involved. And they're not a one-trick pony. They're not trying to do it themselves. Because each of those people have a creative, maybe their part is creative, maybe they're just as creative as nurturing the guy that's sitting there going, what's with the flamingos? They know how to do, that's their part. They can go in and they can talk the numbers. They can do this and everything. That wasn't me. I was in there to sell the flamingo. I'm bringing him flamingos. Unfortunately, I didn't have the other guy to come in after me. Okay, right. I know. I had to stand my ground. So after doing it 2 years, I was done.
Well, I can relate to that. Because in this industry, as we've discussed, we got it into it more for the creative thing. Digital and technology has taken over. And again, I think we did a very good job along the way of being very good at it, right? But it's two different hats, right? Mm-hmm. And I could wear one or the other, but wearing both sometimes, that's a challenge as well, too. You need, no matter how good you are at explaining something, mm-hmm. you can't be the guy explaining everything, right? Because it shows that you lack depth or that your team lacks depth, right? Exactly. And so a lot of times you need to be able to say, hey, listen, blah, let me lay out the big picture, and here's Chuck.
Right.
Here's Susie.
Exactly.
And that's what they want too.
And Chuck and Susie are damn good at what they do.
That's right.
They're damn good at... Good old Chuck is damn good. He's been doing it a long time, and he knows how to do. He's the guy that's going to take the shit on the phone, not you. Most of the time, Chuck is going to soothe him. He's going to rub the oil on him before. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be okay. But the thing is that that's not where I was, man. I just wanted the creative part about it,
right?
So it's like the music, music is a universal language, and if you can speak it and you know how to do it and you're part of it, then you speak that language and you know what music does for you. You know what it does. I have a category of original music. Just a category. I just put a music video out last week for a new song that I did, Ghost or whatever. You can catch it on for those of you actually listening to me. For those of you who give a shit, it'll be... No, but what I'm saying is...
Well, no, but it should be said that you routinely produce new songs and put them out on social media, and they're good.
Yeah,
they're real well-produced songs.
Yeah, so I write. I'm a writer of music and everything like that. So it's not. So the U2 thing is like, that's when you go out and you get your yayas out. That's what I was saying. Like, there's gonna come a time when you guys start playing out and everything like that. There's gonna be nights when there's a lot of people there and everything like that, and there's nothing to be. There's no. I guess you can't comprehend it unless you do it, unless you get off to have that feeling of getting off stage and then the people coming up to you and they start talking. Well, it's different for you because you're a guitar player, so you don't mind, starting to jib jab a little bit after the thing. But for a singer, it's like, fuck, you just sang for an hour straight. Now everybody, I want to tell you about the first time I ever saw U2. You want to talk about that? No, I don't. I want to go to have a fucking beer and I want to chill out, dude. I've been singing for an hour. I don't want to talk about U2. I don't want to fucking have a conversation with you. I love you. Thank you for telling me you enjoyed the band, but I'm out, dude. And they want to talk. They got people bringing albums. They got people bringing pictures. Yeah, this is me and my cousin Joe. Look, I'm standing here with the guy that that brings the clothes to the edge. It's like, who the fuck cares? Oh, really? Who's Joe? Who's that? Oh, he's my uncle. He got us the tickets. I was like, what? Really, dude? I can't. But you know.
Dude, I'm only laughing because I'm going through a phase right now where I'm finding that I'm having a hard time. And don't just take this for what it is, because you're a talker. We're having a conversation, right? But there are some people that are talkers that they're not interested in conversation, right? It's a monologue for them, and they for whatever reason they just want to subject you to their monologue about nonsense for fucking ever. And I'm going through a phase in my life where that's showing up a lot, and I'm like,
right,
I don't know what to do. Do you not? You have ears. Like this is it's supposed to go back and forth. It's not a one way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm either being punished for something or I'm being.
I've been to fucking parties, dude, where they actually grab you and they put you in a fucking corner. You know, they do. It's like you try to get away and they pull you back. It's like, yeah. Anyway, so what I was talking about. I was like, help.
Yeah, you got the elbow coming in at you, like,
and you're trying to look anyway. You're looking at your phone. You're looking at your wall. Oh shit! Somebody's calling. I don't even know. You know, it's like you can't get away. Those people I know, and I've dealt with them in the same. You have to understand when you're belting your balls. I mean, you know, you're singing your ass off for an hour. God, love them and everything for being there, because these people are avid U2 fans. I mean, they are big time U2 fans. You know, they'll tell you honestly every show they've been to, and you're just trying to be very cool and very nice and everything, and it's a hard thing. It's a well balanced, but you'll find, like, you know, when you guys have your shows and everything and you're doing what you're doing and everything, there's after you finish, after you're packing your stuff up and you're getting off stage and everything, this is your time to reflect on how good you did as a band. You want to talk to your bandmates. You want to be like, so dude, what did you think about, what did you think of the Ozzy song? Or what did you think about this? Or what did you think,
right?
You know, how did that go? Oh, dude, I really fucked that one up. I didn't hear it, man. I thought you sounded killer. These are the times you want to grow into your band, and you want to, this is how I feel, at least. A lot of people in bands, they can't wait to get out there. They want to hear
the affirmation.
They want the excuse. Me, I'm the guy that as soon as the gig is over, I'm out. I don't want to know anybody. I don't want to know anything. I just want to get in my car and I want to decompress.
Right.
Or go back to the hotel if we're doing an outside gig. Go up to the room, take a shower, go back down, meet the band at the hotel, and have a few beers and kick the shit up with them. Talk about the gig. Usually somebody's recording it, or we get to listen to it, or, those are the things that I want. I don't really. I mean, I know it's hard to say this, and I know it's bullshit. I don't really care, man. I love to hear, yeah, you guys did good, we love you and everything. Most of the time you can see that on social media. Somebody's gracious enough to put that on there. But while I'm at the gig, man, I'm so tired. Because singing Bono is... Well,
perform, it's a lot to perform. I can't imagine what it's like to perform as a lead singer, and particularly in that case where you're attempting to fill some pretty large shoes, right?
And sweaty ass leather pants and a jacket the whole time. It's like, it's not, this ain't like,
especially
like on a hot summer day, you're out in Palm Beach, the sun's going down and you're in a fucking leather jacket, want to be squeegee you after the fucking show,
Right.
So it's like you're getting off there. I mean, it's a hard deal, it's a hard deal. And, God love you guys. You guys are the musicians. Everybody's like, what are you talking about? You're tired. You got your, my back hurts. I've been carrying my guitar. Get the fuck out of here. Try being in my shit.
It's a very physical thing,
Yeah.
and I'm a head sweater.
Yeah.
And so within 10 minutes, it's just like it might as well be like one of those old sprinklers you had in the backyard. There was a clown head where the hat went up. Do
you think you're gonna wear one of those?
No, I'm just it just turns into
the way that shit gets in your eyes, dude. You're trying to
Yeah, it's all good, but I mean, I hear you. It's like afterwards. It's strange. I'd almost rather hear not you wouldn't. You think you would, maybe you wouldn't, but just some constructive criticism, right? Because sometimes it's like, oh, it's great, that's nice,
mm-hmm.
But I want to improve.
Right.
I want the one person to be like, yeah, I'm doing it. You could work on those chops a little bit. Right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's always if you have that mentality.
Yeah,
and that's rare for a musician. because they don't want to hear that shit. Who the fuck is that guy telling me this? What does he do? I'm the best at what I do. That's the mentality of a lot of musicians. Dude, you should, those drummings you missed, you got to get that part tight. What? What? It's like some musicians are like, look, dude, you've crossed the line. I don't even know if I can speak to you for another 2 hours after saying that. And it's that thing. It's like trying to tell an artist, why don't you use too much red in that painting? It's like, who the fuck are you? But if you have that in you, to be able to want that, to somebody to come up to you and say, hey, look, dude, I love your guitar playing. There's a couple of those things you did in that tune, man. You might want to just,
I'm at that stage because I know I have an incredible room for improvement, right? So I just want to get.
You got a lot of pedals, man. You can.
You know what it is? When I was a kid, I loved Legos.
Did you?
I loved Legos. I could sit in my room for hours and build stuff and rebuild it and take it apart and rebuild it and take it apart. And I love building stuff, right? I've got 9 or 10 different guitar rigs, from like the smallest combo amp, and I have a little dedicated pedal board for that, for those tones.
Whoa.
And it's just something that I just do. I've been for 30 years drawing schematics of, okay, guitar signal goes from here to there to there to there, and then I'm going to split it into these 2 amps. I've been doing this thing for 30 years.
That's cool, man.
Just been designing it, and so now I've, over the last 4 or 5 years, been able to start building it all. And it just, it's like tinkering. Some guys have a wood shop, some guys have this, something they tinker. To me, it's my hobby. I love building this stuff. I love assembling it all. I love making sure it's all nice and neat and fucking straight.
Of course.
And I think that's my thing. I enjoy doing it.
I'm not sure, but I think you might be a fucking guitar player. I'm not sure. You sound like one.
Hold on. Don't fuck with my shit.
I mean...
All right. Is that normally where, when you're with the rest of the guys, that's where you tune out? You're like, okay, here we go. Exactly, now we're talking about pedals.
Listen. No. That's vitally important to the whole thing. I mean, I live that shit, on a daily basis with those guys. Especially they come in, especially it's the bass player and the guitar player. They, with the conversation and everything. The drummer, he's usually just back there, going like this with a stick. Okay, can we start? Can we start? But it's interesting because that's something like I mean, I'm a piano player. I'm a keyboard player.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where I start. I mean, the whole thing is, I'm a early Genesis, yes. That whole going to the space jams and the whole things and everything. That's my wheelhouse. That's where I came up with that all those art rock bands, Genesis, yes. We had, and well, of course, I got into the Grateful Dead, because they go into those
long jams,
spacious jams. And to me, listen, I have a U2 band, but the thing is that I insist these guys go into some kind of jam. We have to bring. If you go see U2, if they're going to do, let's say they're going to do Sunday Bloody Sunday, they're not just going to do Sunday Bloody Sunday. They're going to rock it out a little bit. There's going to be an interlude.
Yeah, open it up a little bit.
Right. There's got to be that. To me, it's like flying a plane. You have the takeoff. You're in midair, but once you're cruising, make it fun for you on stage. Don't just worry about make it fun for you so you guys can, if you have the ability, and this goes back to way back into this conversation happens from serious musicians back in the 60s and 70s that had this conversation about actually being able to lift it up, carry it for a while, and then always being able to bring it in for a landing. You know what I'm saying? It's those moments in that song. I don't care if you're playing covers or you're doing originals or whatever you're doing. The audience is going to feel it just as much as you. So if you give them that little bit I mean, if there's a space in a song, I don't care if it's a 90s song, 80s song, 60s song, or whatever. If there's a place that you can actually go to, that you can bring that thing into another different way and come across in this jammy, free flow way, and then bring it back to the song, every single time, people will clap for I'd say about 10 seconds longer than they would have, because they're goddamn impressed.
And because it's unexpected, and it takes you somewhere.
It takes you somewhere. You go on a little journey for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then when you bring it back, the cool part about that is that I believe 100% you as a musician and the guys that you're on stage with, it's an intimate thing. You were able to go to these places, and you're looking at each other, and then you're just looking over on your side shoulder or whatever, and you're like, okay, man, we're coming around the corner, we can do it. And you guys, and then all of a sudden it's like comes in like a plane, and then you're back to, and you're doing the whole thing, and everybody's like, yeah, what the fuck was that? I don't even know, but it was killer, and
Okay, so yeah, we had a weird whatever, we had to stop, and now we started again. So that'll be a hard cut.
We were on David Gilmour.
Yeah, so we were talking about David Gilmour and guitar tone to some degree, and so yes, that's an influence. I mean, like my early guitar heavy. I mean, Kiss was the first band that I got into. So to me, like a Gibson Les Paul into a cranked Marshall was like, that got me started. Then AC/DC. Then I got into punk and hardcore bands. So I was kind of got more into that like heavier, almost metal rhythm tonality, and that's still with me today.
What about the Chili Peppers?
Love them.
Yeah.
Oh, Frusciante he's on another level.
Right.
That guy.
Right.
He's on another level.
I mean, there's so many like as for myself, like I got to a certain point in like music, like in the 90s, the Chili Peppers, the Black Crowes, some of these killer 90 bands that were at the Alice in Chains you just mentioned, all of, and so many more. And then it just stopped for me. I never got past that. I couldn't get occasionally like a song will come on, like that song I'm Happy. And I'm happy, and it'll catch your ear, and then you find yourself humming. But I never really went out. I haven't gone out and bought anybody in.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I kind of feel a little bit of the same way. And hang on a second. Now this is driving me nuts too.
What, the AC?
Yeah, hold on one second. That's okay. This is how we... This is... It's running like crazy right now. Yeah, we're in mid-show. We're having
there, Martini.
We're having
What's that?
Get a little warm in here.
Oh, man, I feel like a chicken McNugget over here.
The fan's going to go off. It's going to get even hotter, but oh well. So, the professionally produced episode. I'm with you. Okay, so growing up, my dad got me into classic rock. Loved the Doors, loved the Who, loved Hendrix, loved Zeppelin. Was not a huge Beatles and Stones fan back then. Fast forward a little bit of rap, hip hop, stuff like that through the 80s. Then I got a punk rock and hardcore, and that was a huge thing for me. And then the 90s came along. And recently I've been revisiting all of like the bands of the early 90s. I'm like, there was so much good music during that period of time. And it's not to say that other stuff that has come along I've been, like there's other bands. I'm sure if we sat and thought about it, we could say, yeah, that's a cool band or this cool band. But I'm kind of the same way. Like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I'll always stay on top of new music. And now I'm the guy who I'm like, who?
Right. I can't even watch like watching the Super Bowl. I mean, except for like Snoop Dogg, or whatever. I didn't know anybody else, and the only reason I know him is because I've seen him in a movie or two.
Right.
The thing is I never really got into that. I mean, my wheelhouse was always the psychedelic era, the bands, and I've seen a lot of Grateful Dead shows with Jerry Garcia, and got to go and have that experience. And that experience started back when I was like even younger, the mind expanding experiences through music that I'm grateful that I got to experience, which actually opened doors up for me as a musician. I mean, playing the piano, I used to, because I was always the front man, but for a very long time I had the piano in front of me, so I'd be playing and singing at the same time with a mic like this, and playing a whole bunch of places, and doing the thing. And those bands, man, they were about, it was original too. So there was a lot of places around here, back in the early 90s that you could go and people would fill the houses. Now, I had a band in the original part of this called World Echo, and it was like my band would come in and we'd practice from like 8 to like, I'd say 10 o'clock, right? And then we'd open up the warehouse door, and there was Brian from Marilyn Manson standing out there waiting to show, because we shared a warehouse. And then he would come in, and he was always like saying to me, like, "Oh man, dude, you take vocal lessons and everything?" And I'm like, "Oh, next thing you know, he's off, running, cruising around the world, doing his thing or whatever." But back then, during that time, like when Manson was doing World Echo, my band, we had Saigon Kick, we had all these crazy bands that were playing all over the place and everything, and we were packing houses, like down here in South Florida, packing houses with original music. How do you get original music? You can't do that anymore. There's not a person out here that's going to say, "Hey, come bring your original band in here."
Which, that sucks. It's the nature of, just as with everything, tastes change, people, what they're into changes, the music business as a whole has changed significantly. And I'm not going to be one of these guys like, it sucks now, it was better then. I liked then better. I liked that form of music better.
Right.
But I'm also older now, so of course I'm not going to connect to some of the newer stuff.
Right.
So I don't want to slag on it, but it does stink that, where is the place for bands to go and create and bring new stuff?
Or the radio stations.
Or does anybody even care anymore?
Where is the place that these new bands, like say Just Rock, just rock and roll, just what we know, guitar, bass, drums, keyboard. Where is the place for this anymore? Where is the place for and who's going to promote it, and who's going to open the door to let these bands, to let these musicians who are, in my opinion, and I don't mean to be a jerk, I don't mean to sound like the old guy next door, get off my yard, but these people are talented. It is such a craft to learn how to play guitar. It's not an easy thing, and it's so hard to do that, to learn how to play bass, to play drums, to get up there, to play piano, to do whatever. Where is the place for these people? Because they deserve just as much. These guys.
Got an audience. It's true. And it'll go in waves. I mean, right now, because of technology and computers and the large influence of hip hop and EDM on popular music today, along with the ability, for example, like our audio production suite, we've got the full native instruments like Gigando pack. I mean, every instrument you can imagine, you can get a reasonably decent version of it, through a MIDI keyboard.
Yeah.
And, for a young creative person who grew up on hip hop and EDM and a little bit of punk or whatever, they can sit in their bedroom with all these tools and very simple stuff and make some really cool shit.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I use drums. I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong.
No, and I know you're not.
But I play the piano. I mean, all of it's played. It's hand played. The drums, even just going, even that has to. I mean, I'm talking about the simple being a musician part about it, and not just I'm sure it's all. Listen, dude. You know what? It doesn't really. What am I talking about? Anything that you can do in this world that's creative, that's not bullshit, that brings a message to I would say a good message, but I can't say that. I mean, listen to this. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another. Right now, that whole thing.
Sure.
Now listen to the message of what's going on today. I mean, it's pop a cap in your ass and bury you in a wooden box. What's up with that? You know,
in some ways, some of the messaging has lost its way.
Yeah, it has lost
darker.
its way, and I think it's a little darker. And I think if you had to ask me, you know, I think there's a lot of parts about where we are in music today that seems it's a little darker. It seems a little darker. It doesn't seem like, you know, look, dude, I can't pretend like, you know, I mean, maybe it's just because it's what I enjoy. I like to look back at those dudes, you know, playing a guitar, you know. Like I went to, who did I see? I did see Roger Waters. I also saw Peter Gabriel, and, you know, just seeing some of these guys on that stage with their drums and the bass, God, the you know, just doing their thing, and the musicianship that, I mean, it's just like such a thing where you just go to a show and you just sit back and you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's without a doubt, it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, whether music is a reflection of the times or music in some ways leads the time, you know, without going there, you know, there's a lot more darkness right now in the world that is at least being channeled through art and music in some ways. I don't attach myself to that. You know, I'm like you. I believe in a positive message. I believe in a spirituality, a higher power. You know, let's use these talents that we have or whatever we can do for more positive purposes, and so that's where I'm at. That's where you're at. You know,
you can't control the world, man. You know, you can't. You can't ever put a leash around it and walk it the way you want to do it. You can only do one thing. You can only make your world the way you want it to be. You know what I'm saying? You can only bring that. You can keep these killer vibes. You can do what you can. Have your practices. You can walk off of these. You can make your life the way you want to make it. You can't control anybody else and how they think. You can you could add your opinion to it. It was so funny, just crazy thing, you know, stupid little thing. I was talking to my girlfriend Bianca this morning, right? She's a morning person, okay? She's a morning person. This girl, like, up at 5:30 doing her thing. She can work out at 5:30. Her head's all about it at morning. I'm a zombie. Right? I mean, I have my whole life. My body comes awake at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's when I get creative. That's when the computer comes out. That's when I start writing. That's when all of my, I mean, at night, I am like, you know, it's like daytime for me. It's just two different things or whatever. But that's her happy place. That's right. You know, that's her world, and that's where she makes her thing. And that's how, you know, so I did something. I was talking to my son. That's crazy. I said, how do you get up and do that at that time in the morning? I mean, that's I said, there's nobody else I can think of in the whole world. And she was like, what are you talking? What are you giving me a hard time for? She goes, I think you're out of your mind. You're staying up. She goes, you sleep, you know, till 9:30, 10 o'clock, sometimes even later. If I'm up till 4:30 writing or doing something creative or writing music or whatever, I said, honey, these songs don't write themselves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody's got it. There's not a little elf back there. It's me working and writing and doing this and all the things. But the point that I'm trying to make is that she lives her life, you live your life, everybody lives their life the way they feel the best at and how they do it and everything. And there's no way I can't go to a 16-year-old kid and say, what are you listening to that here? Here's a, you know, take this.
No, of course not.
You know, here's Journey. Go run off and knock yourself out or whatever. You can't do it because this is their life, this is their journey, you know, and everything like that. But what I can do is I can just feel thankful that I got to experience in my lifetime some fucking unreal shit, man. Yep. You know? Some things that are just mind-blowingly amazing. Walking out of concerts feeling like you just left church or something. Just like, I don't even remember really, you know? It's like, how did they do it? It's like, it makes you want to hang you don't know whether to be out of your skull excited or just go hang up ever being a musician.
Oh, I've do you follow, there's a guy on YouTube that I follow, his name's Rick Beato. You'll love this guy. Rick is 60. He's a upstate New York guy, you know, classically trained, jazz guitar player, knows music theory inside, outside, upside down. Has been a producer and run a studio in Atlanta for a long time. Worked with a lot of people. And the thing that I like about, he's a guitar player at heart, but the guy can talk theory. I mean, literally, like, and out on the chalkboard, and you're just like, oh my God, ninth inversion of whatever. God. Insane. But like I got introduced to him because he does this series. It's called What Makes This Song Great. And he sits down and he picks a track and he breaks it down. He'll like, show you what are the cool parts about, and he usually has like the rough tracks that he can be like, let's solo in on the drums. Here's what the bass is doing. Here's how the strongs, here's where they went from this key to that key and they changed the mode.
Wow.
But he does it like he gives the same amount of attention and appreciation for the most complex musical arrangement as he does. Like the first one he ever did was like Blink 182.
Right.
And he's like, here's why this song's. So there's no music off limits for him and he loves it all. And I love his like zest for everything. Mm-hmm. And so he's often communicating and interviewing like the new wave of like the hot new guitar players. There's this guy Tosin Abasi. There's like three guys that they play in these crazy like prog metal. Like,
right.
And there's this one band called Polyphia. And so I've started listening to them. Dude, if I didn't love playing guitar so much, I would just quit. I'd be like, like I listen to this kid, I think his name's Tim Hansen. Otherworldly technique and approach and you're like, where the fuck this is from like another universe. Right. This kid, and he's like 26, 27. Man. So it's out there.
Yeah.
But it's been very easy for us to kind of stay in where we know. And so now I'm trying to kind of force myself into some of these areas. Yeah. But as I do, I'm like, oh my God.
It's like funny you say that, because you can be pleasantly surprised when you open your mind to it. There's plenty of jam bands out there that I have turned. I don't need to think about string cheese theory or whatever the fuck the
incident.
name.
It's a string cheese incident.
I don't need to think about any of that. I know what I like. I don't need to go there.
Right.
And somebody one night you're hanging out drinking a beer or something like that and say, "Hey, who is this? Oh, this is String Cheese Incident." What? Then all of a sudden you realize what a jerk you've been. You've been such a jerk because right. you've literally just shut everything down before you criticize people about doing it. You know what I'm saying? Why can't you just be more open-minded?
But you did it yourself.
But you find yourself being closed off to it, and then all of a sudden you're turned on by it, and you didn't even realize it. And then, for me, that's like a jerk moment in my life. Like, what was I thinking? Like,
dude, I mean, I can think of recently a number of instances where I was like, dude, like, I've been resisting this so much, and now I fucking love it.
Yeah. You open up the door, man, and all of a sudden you realize, what the fuck, man?
Dude, my wife is really into like Tantra. And now and I had a guest on here recently who's a Tantra energy coach, right? And so when you hear Tantra, you think, oh, it's sex. Like it's it has to do only with sex. And it really doesn't, right? It has to do with all kinds of like touch and appreciation, breathing. But she always wanted to go all of these Tantra classes. And I the first couple I went to, I had such a bad attitude about it. I'm like, oh my God, these fucking weirdos, fucking, brushing their hair with a spoon and like, oh, it feels so great. Like shit like that,
Wow.
Oh, I had such an irritation to it. And then finally I was like, dude, why don't you just fucking go with the flow here? And now we've been to some stuff, and I'm like, these people are actually pretty cool. They're interesting people. They're doing interesting stuff. They're living different lives. Not 100% for me, but I'm glad to have it as a meaningful flavor.
You learn from it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you see.
I open up to that, and then it's like,
You don't even know what it could possibly do in some weird manner that it could actually just like open up some. It's crazy, And that's really been a problem that I've had. Look, man, it's not really for me, and then all of a sudden you realize that you can dig it, you can understand it. You're not gonna you're not gonna fall in love with it.
No, but there might be a piece of it that you go, hey, I'm glad I was never a big jam band guy,
right?
But I love Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Love Fish.
That's the thing,
And I know there's all these other bands in the periphery, the jam band.
Yeah, you can dig deeper and you can go deeper and everything. But if that's what you dig,
that's what I've taken the time to dig. You know what I mean? Like, it does. Digging all this shit does take time.
Right, it does.
I got 2 kids now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it does. It takes a Sunday, hanging out, barbecuing or whatever, and you got some little time for yourself. And I'm meaning to throw this in, and all of a sudden you're like, it doesn't really occur to you until that jukey, vibey, cool. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, man, dude, I don't know. I'm not even moving myself. This thing's moving me. That's when it all starts to hit in, man. And I swear to God, I mean, 16. It was my last, sophomore in high school, and I went and saw my first Grateful Dead show, and I was like, get out of here, man. I had been listening to Uptown Girl, she's been come on, you're gonna go from fucking Billy Joel to Grateful Dead,
right? And then your world changed.
I walked out of there, man. It was like a UFO had come down in the middle of the concert and landed in the middle of the concert. I'm like, first of all, I'm watching all these hippie people on the driveway, the parking lot. They're all dancing. They're spinning around. Looks like potato sacks, dude. The smells, the whatever. It's just like, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I could do this, And I was there with a friend of mine who was in high school. This was his first Grateful Dead tour. We took the little train in Miami to get to the, we're sitting there on the train, everybody, hippies everywhere. It wasn't the experience, you talk about these kids that go, yeah, it was really cool because of the experience. It was the fucking music, man. It was like going on, they would start singing and even if they were doing what everybody, trucking,
right,
trucking down, all of a sudden they would just go into this long extended, like, going into like journeys like you are the fucking Hobbit going on in it, It was crazy, man. It was crazy. I walked out of there, I was never the same, And then
now, the first time you went, did you do any psychedelics, or did you or was it full
I smoked a little pot, I think.
Yeah,
I wasn't there. I wasn't quite at the psychedelic. It was
Opened
the next time. It
bit.
was the next time when I went to go see him in Tampa. That was the first. And that was just like life-changing experience for me. But it was more life-changing in such a positive, like not just, And from then on, I 50 now, 51. How old am I? Yeah, 51, I think. Dude, I've had my time in that whole thing. Man, I was growing my own mushrooms at one point. Friends would come.
Dude,
over.
you should get back to it. It's coming back at this point.
I was growing. I was growing my own. My friends would come over. They were fucking eating sandwiches out. I'm like, dude, that's not the way you do. Making they were like portobello size. Like, people just sitting around going. But the cooler part about. I was like,
Paul's portobellos.
They were eating portobello. I mean, they were growing. It was like, fucking, dude, I didn't know what I was doing. The next thing you know, it was like Alice in fucking Wonderland. I'm like, but I went through that time in my life, and I think that it was like, you talk about creativity, and I was sitting on my back porch the other night, and I was writing and everything like that, and that is an exact thought that I thought. I wondered if this section of the book that I'm writing, it's a really cool section, man. I mean, this is the part of the story where all roads that I've been writing about, this road, it all comes to this one conjoining part of the story, and I happen to be at that point on the story, so I'm like getting goosebumps, and I'm like looking around, and I'm like, dude, I don't know whether to crack a bottle and have a glass of wine or do whatever just to be like, dude, I fucking made it here. And I realized, dude, at that point in my life, I thought to myself, did any of that shit that I experienced, back in 1920, in my 20s and 30s, when we were just having a good time, I was never into all that synthetic stuff, I mean, not saying that, but it was the vibey thing that really, it's like, some people like jelly beans, some people like, good and plenty's. The vibey thing was what I was always like, man, okay, let's, the sun's out, let's go, and just have a good time, go see a concert, go see some amazing music and come out feeling like, I think it had its effect on me, and I think it's had its effect on me creative-wise in a most amazing way, because it's opened doors that I probably would have never been able to open, even think about, you know what I mean?
I'd be interested, I mean, now you got a lot of people talking about psilocybin mushrooms are making a comeback, for a good reason, either as psychological therapeutics or people are starting to do microdose stuff, whatever. But, my experience with it in college in Colorado way back when was nothing but positive and beautiful and in nature,
man,
and just like
gorgeous.
The beautiful mountains and the trees coming alive and everything. You just look around, you're like, oh, this makes sense.
It does. And you have these places that you can go now. I think there's a couple in Miami. They're places like this, these really nice, beautiful settings and everything like that. And couples come in and people come in and you have a coach there, and she comes in, or he or she comes in, and they bring this little, looks like a silver dollar, like those Easter candies or those little things you just unwrap. They look like chocolate silver or whatever.
Right.
They come in and they drop it off at the table and they discuss the whole thing. When I was watching this thing on this, I was like, what? I was like, this is crazy, because I mean, it's such a cool thing, because these people come in, they said that the lady was like, so everybody's going to, if there's any problem, we have these people, you come and see us, but I think you guys are going to enjoy this and everything like that. And then it's like they drop it off, and you see these people unwrapping it, and then they're going off, and it's a spiritual thing. The music, there's different rooms to go in where they can vibe out in a different way, like be amongst nature with nature sound and all these different things and these vibes and what it brings out and what these people get out at the end. All these people talking were just like they just felt like this is something that they've been wanting in their lives for a long time, to be able to bring out this spiritual part of them. And I don't listen. What do I know? I mean,
yeah, but you know enough because you've been there and you've done it in your own way. And the one of the things, I mean, for me, what it taught, I remember, is just sort of the sense that like the physical world, particularly the natural physical world, is fucking alive. Like,
it is, dude.
It is alive. Rocks are, everything was alive, and that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And then there was always I just remembered always feeling this great sense of like community and love, and just like, all the hippy dippy shit, peace, love, and happiness, like that was kind of the experience, and I think I was always the one. I wanted to make sure everybody was safe. Be safe. Don't be the one who does something dumb. Like, we don't need any of that shit. Everybody have a good time. Be safe. Be cool.
That's what it's all about. The crazy part about that whole thing is, during the whole '60s vibe or whatever, they did an experiment in Vietnam. The soldiers out there. This is a funny story. My grandmother worked for the White House. They were the official White House barbers for Nixon, Eisenhower, and Kennedy. Yeah, you can open up the Time Life books, and you see.
I think I saw you post something. Did you post something?
Yeah, I used to go over my
Okay.
grandmother's, and she would tell me stories or whatever, and we talk about things or whatever, but during the Vietnam War or whatever, there was a time when they experimented on the Vietnamese, the American soldiers, and
Right.
what they thought was, in the first part about this whole thing, like back in World War II, there was those German people, they would give them a certain dose of this certain kind of thing, which turned out to be, I think, ecstasy now, but it was back in World War II or whatever. But for the American people, for the American soldiers, they thought, well, if they give them small doses of LSD, they're gonna, really be gung ho about going out there, and it had such the worst of they all laid down their guns. They were all just saying in the back. Nobody wanted to do it. It was like, fuck it, and everything. They realized quickly. They came to a quick thing that
that's not a war stimulant.
It's not a war stimulant.
Yeah.
It's like a peace and love deal and everything like that. So
because when I won't be able to quote it exactly, but if you've ever listened to any old Bill Hicks stand up, he's like, everything's good. Yeah, we're all one consciousness, breathing and eating and acting alone. We've just only made these divisions and divisions because we're a bunch of idiots and we can't see the real truth with our third eye, blah, 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 blah. Right. But the point is like, I think even though these are crazy times that we're living in, there is sort of like, I sense that, and I feel more people talking about, there is sort of like a spiritual awakening amongst some people where it's like, there is this realization, that we are one. Just because we are a spirit energy inside of these meat machines, whatever you want to call them, doing our things and what we're supposed to do, and I hammer nails and I hang glass, whatever the fuck everybody does. It's all this sort of interconnected energy, right? That it's so easy to not realize that. It's so easy to be distracted from that. And when you start to realize that, it just changes your perspective.
Well, people want to have that feeling, that connected feeling.
But some are afraid because they don't understand it, right? It can be scary.
Well, yeah, I'm not even talking about the psilocybin effects. I'm talking about it just as a human being. You want to feel connected. You want to have that feeling of being, one, the community, the whole 9 yards. You're experiencing exactly what I'm experiencing. You know what I'm saying? You have that in common, that bond that connects everybody. If somebody's going through, even in life, the old saying, misery loves company or whatever, that's only true because people they're in a bad place in their life and they want to talk to somebody. Yeah, I am too, or whatever, but I think we can get this through that. It's only when they talk to somebody with a good vibe and everything, they can start to pull out of that, you know, sometimes, and most times maybe not or whatever, but what you just said is the truth. When you get to that point in your life and you're able to you're sorry. We're going to take a little musical break here.
Louis Armstrong. Hello.
When you get to that point in your life and you're able to accept that and you're strong enough in your brain, it's a life-changing thing,
I agree. Let's make a hard left.
Okay.
Let's talk about your new thing.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about your writing. Let's talk about your book. Mm-hmm. I know that there is a character named Marla, correct? Mm-hmm. But I can't remember the full name of the book. I'm so terrible.
Well, it's a trilogy. It's a trilogy under The Magical Misadventures of Marla. Okay. The name of the book is Marla and the Magic Ink Bottle. This is the first book.
Magic Ink Bottle.
Ink Bottle. Okay. Now, this was not supposed to be the first book. But when I did it, I decided that this was going to be the introduction book to the characters. And it's a story, and I wouldn't say it's a common story. It's just a story that is very relatable to kids, And basically the premise is, she's very much an introvert. But she's an artist. Now, this is all about creative. Marla, the whole series and everything that has to do with her is all about being creative and owning it, The problem is that she is very creative. She's an introvert, starts out that way, but she uses her artistic ability to get into trouble, but also gets herself out of it using it. And she basically finds an ink bottle. She loves to draw monsters. That's her thing. She starts off, and all the kids were always like, she stays inside. She's an introvert. All she's introduced to, she puts them on her wall and has an art show, right? She judges them and, her whole thing. And then one day, she gets to go to the museum on a school trip, and she gets there. She's like a little pissed off. She's like, well, where's all the monsters? Well, I don't see anything. She sees the Mona Lisa. She sees, all the beautiful paintings up there. She sees, Starry Night. She sees all these different things, and everything. She's like, okay, this is great, but where's the pictures of the monsters? Where's the creepy little guy with blue eyes, whatever. Mm-hmm. So she goes down, and she finds an ink bottle, and she brings it home. She takes it, and from there, the whole time, their monsters come alive, and she's got to figure out how to stop these whole things. Now, the whole thing's a rhyming book, and it goes on and on. But in her infinite wisdom, after the sheriff comes, who's another big character in the book, she gains friends in this first book with the sheriff, and and they stop the monster by her being creative enough to think of how to stop her monsters. So she develops this super pencil, and with a big eraser on his head, and she's like, go, I think this is what's going to work. And her parents are all like, why didn't you take the ink bottle, this, that, the monster, the werewolf's down at the store eating chips and, ruining the whole grocery store, the big squids in the fountain, she's got to figure out how to stop all this stuff. So the super pencil goes and leaves the window and goes and erases all the monsters, and she saves the day, becomes not this introvert where kids were making fun of her. Now she's Marla, she's the one who saved the day. But the truth of the matter is that the end of the story is what really matters, is the fact that she finally gets to enter a real art contest, and she draws flowers, beautiful flowers. But if you look at the flowers very closely, when she wins first place, of course, the flowers are actually dragons. So she keeps her whole, this is her creative way, this is who she is, this is what she likes to do. But she conformed a little bit, but she's still herself. And that's the whole point of the book, is to be an artist, to be who you are, to own it, if this is what you do. And the second story is absolutely goes way beyond the creativity on that whole thing. This was an introduction story. So it's a trilogy, and it's an incredible, the third book is even beyond the second book. And it's not all just based on magic and fairy tales and all this stuff. I mean, a lot of it is that she, has to get herself out of trouble from things that she does. But every time she does, she uses 100% creativity. She builds something, she creates something, she draws something. It's from her imagination. And of course, the sheriff is involved. She did it again. How are you going to get yourself out of this? Well, I'm going to need you to go grab this, and this, and we can put it together, and this is how we're going to save this is what's going to happen. Now, saying this, the third story is the same way. It's like, okay, well, how does she use her imagination to get her imagination and her artistic skills, just like anybody here. Just like anybody here that they need to come up with a way that this ad is going to look. You got to come up, you got to use your imagination, the color schemes, what's going to work to make the client love your stuff. It starts at a young age. We talk about being creative. That was the first question here. What about creativity? That's what it's all. That's when it starts.
Where did this, where did the idea come from for this?
I woke up.
Was there a point in time where you thought, geez, I might like to do a children's book?
When I was 11, it was called Milo and the Eggs from Mars. It was originally Milo. It's crazy. I have all of the original drawings that I did when I was 11. It was called Milo and the Eggs from Mars, and then it was going to be Milo in the Magic Ink Bottle, and then I just developed the third title, which is, Marla and the Treasure on the Toast, which is a great thing, because the third book is, she finds her mom hands her breakfast, is her favorite thing in the world is toast, but this particular morning she gets a piece of toast, and it's got on the burnt marks on it, it's a full treasure map. It comes to it. So she looks at this, she's like looking around, she takes the toast, puts it in, and that's when the third adventure starts. And it goes completely crazy from there. But the thing is that when did it start? It was 11, so if I look back at this, so I said to myself, you know what? Let's change it around a little bit. Bianca has a daughter, she's 9 years old. She was 8, I think, when I met her, and her daughter's born on the same day I am, March 6th baby, and she's just as this girl's like massively anything you can imagine as far as drawing, as far as this, that, the other. I mean, she is an amazing little artist, And so she inspired me when we got there to when I met her, she inspired me to change it to Marla. Why not do a little girl? So it became Marla instead of Milo. And then Bianca took over the illustration. I mean, she basically, this is her first time ever illustrating a book. She was like, I don't know if I can do this. And when she started, she drew the first drawing. It was like, after that, it was like, this girl was meant to do this.
How interesting, right? It's like, we were talking earlier about kind of going back to childhood and just revisiting the thing. So this literally is like, at this stage in your life, for whatever reason, you revisit something.
Exactly.
And you just fucking go for it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like everything comes full circle in your life, and whatever you do in your life, music, this, that, whatever, you're going to utilize this, and it's all part of you. You take it with, that's what I said when I first got here. You take it with you. If you're lucky enough.
Right.
If you're lucky enough. If you get that, otherwise you could spend the rest of your life, working at something you're not happy at to pay the bills and everything like that. And maybe in your brain you had this something when you were little. But God forbid you get to a point in your life when you're rocking in your rocking chair and you never actually took that little piece of something and tried to make it happen. The greatest part about everything, dude, and I say this wholeheartedly. I say this, the greatest thing that can ever happen is if you believe in something strong enough, if you believe in it, and you're not willing to take no for an answer, like I'm not. I'm not taking no for an answer. I know what this thing's going to be. I know what it can be. Dude, I have a product line. I have an entire, like, magical art supply line that we've developed. We've got everything from apps, games. We just came out with our first game. It's called Marla's Lineup. It would be me and you sitting here across the table. Marla's Lineup is a really fast-paced game. I would draw a single line on a piece of paper, right? Now I'm going to hand it to you. You're going to turn the thing over. It's going to give you 60 seconds. You've got to come up with a line. You got to make that particular line into a picture. Person, place, or thing. You got 60 seconds to do it. You look at the squiggly line or whatever, and then you're like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do this? And all of a sudden you come up with it, and you look at it, and you were able to make a car, a vehicle, a dinosaur, whatever. Now you take that picture and you stick it on the wall, right? Okay? It comes with the sticky pads and the timers and the whole 9 yards. You stick it on the wall, right? Then you do it again. Then you draw a line, and now you got to pass it back to me. Now I got 60 seconds. Now that's round 1. You do 5 rounds. By the time you do 5 rounds, you got a whole bunch of sticky notes with little artwork on the thing. You kids, right? I mean, we wouldn't do that.
Right.
But now it comes with a first, second, and third ribbon, right? So at the end of it, these kids get to take, and they have their own little art show to see who came up with the first. Who gets first place? What's the best picture that was created out of pure imagination in a split second to learn how to be creative,
Wow.
in that moment, which was totally based off the second page of the book of Marla and the Magic Ink Bottles. You see Marla, she's standing on the thing judging her own little pictures, So it was an idea that I had that made sense to actually take the game and tie it up, with the book. What are you going to do, And a limited budget, of course,
Sure. But again, this is like, I just love hearing this, because this is you taking something that was at 11, and here you are now at 50 plus-ish, right? But now it's turned into something, and now you're able to use not only what let's say your childhood impulses were, but also everything that you've learned along the way in what you've done, right? And now it's like, it's just,
right.
It's funneling.
So you take that, and you take, like I said, we start the whole thing. We talk about advertising. We talk about voiceovers. We talk about music. We talk about this. So I've taken everything that I've learned over the years, produced the whole little 10-minute read along for the kids. So when they get to the book readings, I mean, we're doing Barnes and Nobles. Right now, I think we got six stores lined up from Palm Beach, and we're Naples and Miami, and we just did Plantation to a standing only. Sold all the books, all the books that were there. Why we were there, it was a crazy thing, because we're in there trying to do our thing, and the manager of the Barnes and Noble is running back and forth. We got people ordering them online. They're coming to pick them up. He's grabbing us. I'm sorry. I just gotta grab these books. I'm like, what? It's amazing. But the thing is, dude, it's not. It's like anything, Why not? Number one, why not?
Right.
And number two, it's like you believe in this thing. You believe in it. You're putting your funnel. It's like it's like the Tin Man. You take this funnel and you stick it on your head, right? Except you turn it around and you let the universe funnel into your head, funnel through you into what you're doing. And it happens. And it happens if you believe that it can happen. And I'm not saying that, believe me, and I'm not saying that happens in everything. We were just talking in the other room there. We were talking about how, pushing this glass, right? If it's meant to be, it's going to just slide across the table, and you're going to push this glass. Mm-hmm. But if it's not meant to be, and you're doing something that's not meant to be, it's going to be a slow crawl. It's just going to fall over. It's going to be messy. It's going to, you're going to have to clean up after yourself. The whole 9 yards. But if it's something that's meant to be and you're meant to do it, then it's going to work out great. Like I say, this show, in particularly, the Chris Herman show. This thing could be what it's going to be. You believe in it enough. I think that you have the patience, and you're listening, and you add to it in your whole 9 yards. I believe this thing can be bigger than life. I believe right next to us, there's a stage sitting there, and he's got guitars, and there's a whole thing. The point is that there could be musical guests coming in. Listen, you're all about music. This is your passion. This is what you're, You could have people come in, do a little guy. You could actually, okay, listen, I'm going to be sitting in with, we're going to do, one of these things. I'm going to play the rhythm, and whatever. That is like, do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, there's advertising, and God knows you're good at it. I mean, you wouldn't have what you have if you weren't good at what you did. That goes without saying, But the other side of that, and that's that, I'm not, believe me if I overstep when I say this, that's your living. You know what I'm saying? There's a part of Chris Herman that goes beyond the advertising into the music and into this thing, into the into this show, into the thing that you're discovering and that you're learning about, and you're learning that this is part of you, and like the cup, I honestly 100% believe that when you're onto something, it comes easy, and the universe pushes you towards it. It says, okay, listen, we've been waiting. It's like how, going to see family. They've been waiting for you to get here. That's what it is when you find what you need to do. They've been waiting for you. Now that you're here, we're going to show you where to go. This is where you're going to sleep. This is where you're going to eat. We're going to make things life.
That's such a great analogy, man. Thank you for, I'm flattered by and encouraged by and genuinely appreciate your insight into this, because it's something that fundamentally I know that I love it. I think about it. I have, with the help of a lot of people, made it a priority to do, right? So it's not just something like, well, yeah, I should do it, and there's a number of other things that are in top of mind for me that it's like, okay, now it's time to start doing those things. But yeah, it's come together organically, and what it can be is unlimited, but it's starting to reveal itself to me and, such as yourself, other people who are seeing it, which to me, that's the cool thing. I don't, you don't know it yet. Right. I'm listening a lot. Like this show, and this podcast for me is so much about listening. Like naturally I have things to say and I want to share them, but it's really about listening to who I'm talking with. Right. And then just seeing where we take it.
Exactly.
Right?
Isn't that cool? It's like music.
Yeah.
Man. It's like music. It's like we're free jamming here. You know what I'm saying? It's that same thing. Can you take it? Can you start the conversation? Can you end the conversation? Can you take it to a cool place? Can you travel? It's like, that's just life, man. And if you can harness this, and you can, you go back to the advertising. Yeah, maybe you sell time on the show. Maybe, what I'm saying, you get it to a point where you got some viewers here, and now you're starting to sell. Hey, listen, you can be a sponsor of the show. Whatever. Now you're, making a little buck here or there. Whatever you do, whatever it is. By saying that, I'm only saying that because, again, you're taking pieces of you. You brought it with you to this point, so you already know how the advertising game works. You've been there. Hey, listen, we could, we obviously have a shitload of people watching this show now. If you want to be part of it, I can have your, we can sponsor. You can be a sponsor on the show. We'll do a little commercial break. We're gonna be right back. All of a sudden you got John Hampkins Dodge. Whatever the whatever to say. Okay, we're back.
This show brought to you by John Hampkins Dodge, home of the No Bull Deal. John Hampkins, where did you come up with that? That's funny, but that was perfect.
Oh, it's like
that's funny.
But that's what it's all about, man. I mean, so it looks like we're both on the So the books.
I appreciate that. Okay, cool. Let's put it back to you though, because you got something that's going right now that I want people to know about.
Yeah, it's ready to go. I mean, the book is out there. It's doing quite well. We are now officially in the Broward County Library. Hey. We were in circulation. We were at the Plantation Library. We're looking at other libraries as well. There are other libraries. We got the Dade County Library. We've got the Palm Beach Library, Palm Beach County. That's it's like this. You break any door down. Broward County broke down. They love it. They're actually inviting us in September. We got book tours from June, July, August, and all the way up to September right now. It could go after that. We haven't got past that point. But Broward County is in September. They asked us to come and read, and do the presentation for Marla. Like I said, Plantation was our kickoff. We had standing room only. It was just an amazing experience. It's like one of those most humbling things you'll ever do when you put something out there and it actually gets the response that's better than what you thought, like, wow, man, this is great. I looked over at Bianca. She, at one point she had tears in her eyes. She was like, because there wasn't really nobody there at the, like 10 minutes to the event, there was like nobody, and then it was like they just started funneling in, and next thing you know, it was like I was looking around, I'm like, holy cow, it was like, I guess you say it's at 11, it's at 11. Exactly, so this book is a means to a television show. That's all this is what it is. Was written even back when I was 11. I thought of this being a show. It's an animated show. The thing has legs. It's got a product line behind it. It's got stories way beyond the trilogy. It's got stories that just can go and go and go, seasons worth of. So the goal here is, at the end of the day, to wake up, to be at a table, maybe a little bigger than this, with writers, animators, people, and saying, here's what we got. This is
let's guide the story.
Here's season 2. Where are we going? Where's Marla going? Who are we bringing in? Because you have to understand, when it comes to art, and this is what these stories about, art is such a beautiful thing. Art is music. Art is photography. Art is everything. Art is sculpting. Art is art, no matter how you do it. So the storyline goes on and on forever and ever, because you can bring in more characters. You can bring in a musician, a young little musician who's, you can bring in anybody. You can gather, for right now, it's just Marla and the sheriff. These are the adventures they are going through. But these next stories that are about to develop beyond this trilogy, it's like the Star Wars thing. You just get it out there, you start the whole thing rolling, now look at it.
Oh my God.
It just never ends. It's like they can write stories about, and then now they're writing stories about, there's little Yoda. So they just take characters and you just continue on the journey. It doesn't matter, because once the people, it's like anything. Once the people decide that they are enveloped in the story or in the characters or whatever, isn't it America that we just want more and more? We want more. Okay, wait, now here comes we want to binge watch it. We want to see it all at one time. We want it to continue. We don't want the journey to end.
Right.
We love these characters, we want more. We want to see the show, the show. We want to watch it because we don't know what's going to happen. This shit gets crazy on this show. We want more. We want more. We want more. We want the magic of it. And that's the whole point. And I believe 100% that, like I was saying when this whole day started off, that, and believe me, not to keep knocking where we are today, but when you do look around, unfortunately, there's a lot of things about today that just seem like we can, as a population and as a species, we could do much better. But it was, for me, this book was to continue my journey on where I came from, and with that 70s feeling, with that bringing that back into to full circulation, to allow kids that are being born, now to experience that story that has nothing to do with, God forbid, I know there's a it has nothing to do with celebrating a gender. It has nothing to do with celebrating this or that or the other. It's not any of these issues. It's just pure art, man. It's just pure creativity. It's just an adventure. There's no hidden agenda to it. It's just a fucking adventure. Pardon my language.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just an adventure, and it's a way to escape.
Need more of that.
Right.
Everything has got a secondary messaging.
Yeah,
It's got to reach this target audience. It's just, come on, stop.
It's just stop. Let the kid enjoy a fucking story. For God's sakes, let them enjoy being a child. Let them, we did.
Yep.
We got the chance. Why not give them a chance? Why do they have to feel like they have to guide everybody? Let them be who they are. It's going to come out naturally.
Right.
If this person is going to be gay, lesbian, or whatever, let them find it and experience it. Sure, they don't need to be ridiculed for it. I can understand that. I can understand
100%.
their whole thing. But naturally, they're going to come out to be who they want to be in life because, you know what? Everybody does at some point. Unless you're locked in a cage, then, but the point is that for crying out loud, we as children got to go sit in movie theaters and watch E.T. Extraterrestrial. We got to go see Star Wars. We got to go on adventures. We got to go, there was no hidden this. There was no, listen, beyond anything, I believe love is love and humanity is humanity, and whoever wants to do whatever they want to do, that's their thing. Whatever, But I can tell you one thing, it wasn't force-fed.
No.
We didn't have to. We didn't sit there and we did not have to. It wasn't a mandatory thing, It was not a mandatory thing. I just naturally grew up there and, you know what, this is life and this is the way it works, off to my fucking thing. I don't really care what they're doing. They got their own adventure, man. I'm just trying to climb my hill. And when I get there, hopefully I did it the right way. That's all we should all, as a community, as a population, and that's what we should be thinking about. I think we do more damage trying to fix something than we do just letting it be natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like, last thing I want to say. For instance, like, if a child, okay, if childs are naturally gonna have, they're gonna learn, they gotta climb their tree, man, and they're gonna find a broken branch. They're gonna fall to the bottom. They're gonna get back up and they're gonna climb up because that's how they become an adult. You go through your trials and your errors because you become that's how you get there. I ain't gonna do that again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That ain't gonna happen. That didn't fucking work out well. I need to go to the other branch. I need to figure out another way up this tree. That's what people do. But I think along the way, and I think maybe it is that parents get a little lost and they don't know and they think, it's like that Stones tune, Mother's Little Helper, or whatever. People get lost and they feel like they have to go to certain degrees, or my child just isn't really paying attention in school or whatever. We can give him this. This will help. This will help, but it doesn't help because they don't. The truth of the matter is that that's the way I was. I wasn't paying attention in school. I was worried about my next. I was thinking about, oh man, when I get home, I want to write this thing. I got this thing on my mind. You don't know what that kid's thinking about. Maybe when he wants to get home, he could be the next inventor of like an engine or some kind of weird thing. That shit's going through his mind. Now you're going to take some weird shit and you're going to throw it on him and you're going to douse him, turn him into a zombie. Now he can't even think straight. He's just going to be.
Yeah, I'm not with that at all.
Not that it doesn't help. I mean, I have no right to say that.
We're not doctors. We're not clinical psychologists. But I think any reasonably logical person could say that the over pharmaceuticalization of children, it's just enough. All right, just stop. Not every kid who's spastic has an issue. They just have some energy. They don't know how to express it the right way. They want to get the fuck out of this boring classroom and go play or go run around or go do something. Because being, as a kid, being sort of slowly and gradually funneled into this system and structure, which, listen, I'm not against it. Right? I'm not against education and kids being introduced into concepts of education and understanding responsibility and being on time. That to me, that's not some evil system set up by the man.
No.
It's a natural process of growth and development that you kind of have to go through to help shape your own thoughts and ideals and how you handle stuff. But don't expect free, loving, wild children to just love going into that. I mean, my daughter every night gives me shit about having to go to bed.
Everybody's got exactly.
Time for bed. No. What do you mean no? It's 8:30. It's actually past your bedtime.
Right.
No, I want to play.
And what are you gonna do? Break out the Ritalin. It's just, it's crazy. But that's, as a side, that's what I mean. Well, just let the kids be kids, Let them go on their adventures. I'm not saying don't put them to bed at 8:30 when they got to go to bed you know what I mean. I mean, the kids be kids. Stop trying to think that everything is wrong. There's nothing wrong here. What is wrong is the fact that we think everything is wrong. I'm not saying that any of these shootings and all the stuff that's happening with all this stuff, I'm not saying that that has anything to do with any of that. But what I am saying is that we didn't have it when we were growing up. Like I posted on Facebook the other day, the scariest part about growing up and going to school for us was report card day.
Oh, man, is that the truth?
Exactly. You had to sit there and bite your nails till 7th. Oh, Jesus. Wow. How am I going to change this one?
Yeah, right. I got to go home and talk to my parents. Oh, you're right. That was terrible.
Yeah, my problem is that I had a sister who was like a straight A student. So there was no, even if they forgot about report card day, there was no getting around from, oh, by the way, we got report cards. Oh, gosh.
Shit.
I'm Paul. What'd you do? Let's get back to that. Pass the meatloaf.
Got a new song. Dude, I'm with you. I think we tend to overcomplicate shit and try to come up with 8,000 solutions for problems that don't exist at the level that we think that they exist. And everybody wants to be a fucking savior. And, I'm going to time us out there. We'll save that for after hours conversation at this point in time because we're staying in a nice positive.
Yeah, man. I'm just saying. Let's. So the moral.
I might get agitated.
The moral to that story is let them be kids.
Yep.
And so that by saying that is the adventure that I created. I created an adventure that just is simply adventures. And it's got monsters, it's got pirates, it's got ostriches, it's got aliens, it's got this whole trilogy that has come to this thing is got everything a kid could possibly want in weird ways and not quite the ways that you think that they're there, because some of this is just like, you'll have to read the book. I can't.
Where can we get the book?
Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Target. Barnes & Noble's a great place to get it. That's the book tour, the summer book tour that I'm currently on right now. Yeah, Barnes & Noble's great. Or you can just simply go to magicalmarla.com and order it straight from the website. There you'll find a plethora of different things to do, such as the game is there. You can watch some of the cartoons. You could learn about what's going on, and you can join Marla's, Club Marla, Camp Marla.
Paul, you need to get this shit together. Okay, this might fall on the business side. Remember, I got to tighten up.
Yeah, I'm still writing there. Camp Marla is the place, and then you get to know when all the stuff comes out and all the things. But there's some, like I said, there's a lot going on with this book that I can tell you. There's a lot going on behind the curtains that I cannot say just as yet, but I hope to have some really great news in possibly less than a week. I won't know, but knock on wood. Other than that, the book, and then I'm working on, and I'm still writing, that's the children's section of it, and then I am writing the Triangle Chronicles, which is another 3-part Harry Potter age epic crazy journey of epic proportions, and that's the one I was telling you about, where I got to that place in the middle and just that's when you, and it's just like the other thing, it's just like the other book, the children's book, which I know that I know going into this thing. I already know it, man, going into it. And I'm a humble dude. I'm humble. I don't, the same humbleness that when I finish a gig, I don't need to sit there and hear, hey man, I just want to slip out quietly back out the back door, But I say this that I know going into this, that this is what I'm supposed to do, and this story is beyond anything that has ever been written or cannot be touched. And when somebody reads this, it reads more like a movie, man. It reads like a movie. From the time you jump into this thing, from the time you get into it, from the very first page, it's already you're off and running. It never really. There's only certain times where it's just about character building, or the relationships that you have to. You ever go to a movie or ever read something where it's like you don't even know these people. Why should you give a shit if the guy just got thrown off a cliff? You know what I'm saying? It's like you never really got to know the person, even in movies sometimes. And that is a character building. Comes from our age of cinematography, which was, Spielberg. We sat there at Jaws and we got to learn about the sheriff. We got to learn about his wife. We saw the love between the son and this. You feel that. So at the end of the movie, you get to know Quint. You know what I'm saying? You see him. You get to hear about his story. Farewell and adieu to you. All that shit. You get to know these characters. By the time at the end of the movie comes, when Quint's in the shark's mouth, you're kind of like, fuck, I like that guy. You know what I'm saying? But without that character building, what do you got? You got an empty vessel.
This to that.
Yeah, you get to that. Well, the guy just died. Okay, whatever. I need to use the restroom. That kind of shit. It doesn't. When you're intrigued with something, it's like you think about your favorite movie. That's what you love these movies or you love these stories because they're filled with emotion and this and that. And that's what I'm doing, man. That's even in these children's books, even in the way that I possibly can for children. You can't get too deep on that. You can't. You have to keep it. And
right.
For kids, it's all about the entertainment. They just want to know, And it's not easy, I got to tell you. Writing the Triangle Chronicles is incredible because all of Marla's books have rhymed. It's been a rhyming thing, and it is not easy telling a 32-page story, rhyming the whole thing all the way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not an easy feat to do, and it tells an amazing story. It's like. It tells an amazing story, and the whole thing rhymes. It's like Dr. Seuss in a way, but not. I mean, Seuss got away with it because he could make up his own words. He was making up, Sfazuzul and Gazuluzul, and we went, to all these different things. So it's hard to tell a story and to keep that whole thing rhyming. So I'm sure after this trilogy, for this first trilogy, when it goes to that, it's not going to be. It'll just be plain stories and everything. But I have written. Those three, Marla and the Magic Ink Bottle, Marla and the Eggs from Mars, Marla and the Treasure on the Toast. Now I have also wrote a really incredible book about a child who finds magic drumsticks, which is called Rap-a-Tap-Tap and the Enchanted Drumsticks, done and dusted, ready to get published. I have The Porcupine Prince, which was completed, which is an absolute insane story, very deep, very cool. These are all done, ready to go, ready to get published. So I have 6 books ready to be published. I want to finish this one that doesn't require illustrations. Bianca's got her work cut out for her when it comes to these illustrations, and there's nobody else that I could possibly ever see doing the illustrations because she's, these illustrations for the second one. Forget it, man.
Dude, you got a ton going on.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm
great.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, But, you have to, not saying anything. You have to, with these dreams, just like, and with everything, you have a business or you have to keep that kick running in.
Gotta keep the number one flow
You got to keep the number one flow going, and how do you do that? How do you do that in a time when things are the way they are, it's just, you go out and you try to wave your flags and you're waving them in a time when things are, it's like everybody's looking at the flag and they'd love to, say, hey, but everybody's going through this same climate,
Right. Well, there's a lot more for us to digest in a future conversation because I want to dive into some of this trilogy thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's another big thing to jump into.
Yeah, we can't sit here all day, dude.
So, again, let everybody know where they can find you online and where they can get the book one more time.
Okay.
I'm going to order some copies. I'm looking forward to reading. I want to check it out.
I
I've been seeing you post.
I was in I left the house. I should have. You know what? It's been so long since I've seen you. I didn't even know you had kids.
I do. I've got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son.
You should have told me, man.
I
would have brought the book, signed the whole deal. But it would have been a really big a deal.
We'll save that. We'll save that for when you come over to hang out when we jam. We'll have some
man.
copies by then, okay?
Oh, dude, that's great, man. Yeah, the book is available online, once again, at magicalmarla.com, or you can order it at Amazon and Walmart, Target, and did I forget one? Walmart, Target, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Those are your best bets right there. You can get them. They're ready to go. All you got to do is just hop online. If you order it from magicalmarla.com, it's faster, it's quicker too, but I will tell you this is the coolest part about the book, which is nobody else is doing. Every book ordered, whether you order it from Barnes & Noble or whether you order it from my website, when you order it, you get an MP3 of the story with sound effects, music, the whole 9 yards, and it's got your child's name at the beginning of it. So it's addressed to them. It'll say, "Hey, Chucky, I'm glad you're here with us. Ready to go? Okay, we're going to... Oh, and by the way, Chucky, when you hear this sound, you're going to want to turn the page, So every book that's sold, because of the price of the book, everybody looks at it and they go, holy... That's something that you get, nobody else is doing. It makes
value.
It's added value, especially when you're sitting there and you can put your cell phone next to, your child and they hear their name. I mean, how cool is that? What? Wait, what?
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So that's what's going on, Chris.
Cool, man. Paul, good seeing you.
This has been fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
we'll do this
man,
again.
Definitely. I can't wait to hear you play, dude.
Let's do that. We've got a nice window this weekend of this next couple months of a lot of musical jams going on
man.
Here. So I look forward to having you here.
That's awesome.
Paul Martini, man.
Good seeing everybody.
Good job, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
I'll see you again.
All right.